Happy Tuesday, everybody. Today we're going to talk about how you label fractions. Just like if we had 25 pieces of candy and we know how to write the number 25, there's a special way to write fractions. And a lot of you are familiar with how to write it, but I want to talk about the language that mathematicians use to talk about fractions. So when we talk about fractions, there are two parts with a line in between. On the top is what we call the numerator. The numerator is the part we're thinking about. I drew this speech bubble to help me remember. The numerator is the part that we're thinking about. Oftentimes, the numerator is how much you get. So that's the part you're thinking about. On the bottom, below the line, is the denominator. The denominator is the total number of parts. Let me show you what I mean about numerators and denominators. I have my fraction circle. And I am only thinking about this part because this is the part of the pizza that I get to eat, or this is the part of the pie that I get to eat. I'm only thinking about this part, but that's not the whole part. There's this other thing over here, right? So the part that I'm thinking about goes on the top. I see one piece. That means my numerator on the top is going to be 1 because I'm thinking about one part. But what about the total number of parts? If I put my pieces back together, I can see that there are 2 parts. That means my denominator, or the number on the bottom, is going to be 2 because that's the total number of parts. So I would write it like this, and I would say it like this: 1/2. In a fraction that's divided into 2 equal parts, we say 1/2, okay? Now, I might be thinking about both parts. Maybe I cut it in half, but I actually get to eat both parts. Then my numerator would change. If I'm thinking about both parts, I'm thinking about 2 parts, my numerator becomes 2. Whoa! And I would read it like this: 2 halves. Oh, that's a pretty silly way to say that number. All right, but what if my pizza is not just divided into 2 equal parts? What if it's divided into 3 equal parts? Let's say that I'm thinking about one part because this is the piece I get to eat. My numerator, which is the number on the top, will be 1 because that's what I'm thinking about. So I'm going to write my numerator, 1. Then I'm going to draw my line, and I'm going to think about my denominator. My denominator is the total number of parts. So there's the 1 part I'm thinking about, but there's also the 2 parts that I'm not thinking about. Altogether, that makes 3 equal parts. That means my denominator is 3 because that's the total number of parts in my pie. So I would write it like this, and I would read it like this: 1/3. When 3 is the denominator in our fraction, we say third. 1/3. But maybe I'm actually thinking about 2 pieces. What if my friends are being really generous and they're letting me have 2 pieces? There's still 3 pieces in the circle, but if I'm thinking about 2, which number will change? The number on the top or the number on the bottom? It's the number on the top. The numerator is going to change because instead of just thinking about 1 part, now I'm thinking about 2 parts. So if I'm thinking about 2 parts, but are still, pardon me, this is kind of tricky to hold all this up, but there are still 3 parts all together, then I would write it like this, and I would read it 2/3. All right, let's do one more fraction to think about numerators and denominators. I am going to get out one of my fraction squares and take a look at it. I am thinking about this part. How many parts am I thinking about? 1. So my numerator will be 1. But what's my denominator? How many parts all together? Well, I'm going to take the part I'm thinking about and put it back in with the other parts. All together there are 4 parts, so my denominator will be 4. 1/4. Okay, so if you are interested, there is another video today where you can do practice with more numerators and denominators, but if you're feeling good, like that was a good lesson for you, you can stop there.